So with that in mind, let's get going with the webinar today. The Everglade concept was that we'd provide a software platform for both the computer and your global positioning system that would provide a method for the collection of tabular and spatial data. We'd simplify the wetland data collection process, have a short learning curve, and basically provide you a start-to-finish solution. So essentially, if you look at the graphics that are on the screen, the Everglade concept is replacing everything that you would typically take to the field with you, your pen and paper, any notebooks, things like this, and put all of that information on your global positioning system. Everglade is currently available for all of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineer regions in the continental United States as well as Alaska. So when you purchase Everglade, you actually get all of these regions, so you don't have to purchase these regions separately. So if you have offices in multiple states and multiple regions, you can install and license Everglade on one GPS and essentially, if you need to, ship that around from office to office so the people can use it in their appropriate region. There are two components to an Everglade purchase. We abbreviate these, so Everglade for the computer is EV Desktop. So it's used to create your wetland projects, manage and organize that data, and export the created wetland projects. Everglade Mobile is what runs on your rugged handheld field computer or your GPS. So this is the mobile component that's used to collect all your tabular and spatial data, vegetation data, soils data, hydrology data, and of course the GPS data that's required with that. So here's some screen captures from Everglade Desktop. Very simple. It's the communication software, so it handles data transfer, data and project transfer between your GPS and the desktop. So in EV Desktop, you build, edit, and export new projects, as well as capture the new data coming in, make further edits or adjustments if you want, and then of course export those completed forms. So with the field data collection, you have the ability to collect data at points, lines, or polygons, and you'll see this on the GPS when we start running the software live. We believe we have some really intuitive screens and workflows. Basically, you can just tap on tabs at the bottom of the screen and work from a left to right manner, just like you were reading a book. One of the key features of the Everglade software on the GPS is the Vegetation List that automatically sorts as you type in either the common or the scientific name of the plant species. So here's just some screenshots of what Everglade Mobile will look like in the field. So when you tap the icon to run it, you basically just have four simple icons that come up. You can tap on the About, see the registration information for Everglade, what version you're running. The GPS setup is typically used just the very first time, so when you're essentially setting up the communication parameters for the specific GPS in your unit, and then you can save those settings. In that, we also have different ways of looking at that GPS data, such as a sky plot, signal strength, things like this. And then, of course, all of your project information can be accessed by clicking on the icon with the folder. So that's where we keep track of all of the projects, and you can have an unlimited number of projects on there ready to go, either in process or ones that you've already used to collect data. So when you tap on the Open Project folder, you simply get a list of those, and you can tap on whichever one you want to open it up and begin collecting additional data for that project. You can also see some good spatial awareness of your data. Like we mentioned that you can map points, lines, and polygons, so you can map and label individual points where you're collecting data. If you're mapping a boundary or a stream, you can map that as a line and then pause that line and collect data on it. If you've got a pond or an area that you're mapping around, you can do that as a polygon, and again, pause walking that line and collecting that data. And when you're walking those lines, we have various tools where you can collect data on a timed interval or on a spatial interval. So you can set up Everglade to say, okay, I want to collect data every meter as I walk this fence line or as I walk this creek, or you can say I want to collect data every 2 seconds as I'm walking it. Here's the workflow that we're talking about. So this is one of the first screens that come up. So this information is populated to Everglade Mobile by Everglade Desktop when you're creating the project. And then you'll see those tabs at the bottom of the screen. You just simply tap on those and complete all the information that's requested on those screens. These screens have been set up to basically make it so that you have to put all the information in there that is asked for or required by the specific regional determination forms. So these will vary a little bit depending on which region you're working in. This is a screenshot of the vegetation list, so you can type, hit a drop down for the stratum and then begin typing in the species or the common name, and you can see how it automatically sorts. Just in this example, by simply typing the letter A in there, it comes up with all of the plant species in that particular region that you selected that start with the letter A. And if you typed in a C, it would sort on that level, etc. And this is an example of the soil data entry screen that comes up. But again, we will see these later when we run the software live. So with EV Desktop, once you get the data collected in the field and you close the project, come back to your office and connect to your computer via USB, you can send the files from the handheld. Here you can review, edit data. If there were some species out in the field that you couldn't identify, and you bring those back and possibly key those, you can type those in. You can adjust the cover, the dominant species, anything like this can be adjusted after the fact. And then once all of that's done, you just simply go click on File, Export, and it exports the automatically completed regional determination forms with your dominance test and your prevalence index worksheets already completed for you. Now we're also storing the shape files within Everglade Desktop. So if you want to use ArcMap or any of the commercially available GIS products to create some nice maps of where you collected your data, you can export the shape files out of Everglade into your GIS. And this is an example of some screenshots of the Everglade produced regional determination forms. Again, these are meant to be exact copies of the Corps of Engineers forms, all completed with the information that you put in there. All right, we're going to pause now and take this for a test drive. Before we do this, I would like to launch one poll, and I want to find out currently what you use to collect wetland data with for our attendees here. So I'm going to launch this poll. Just give you a few seconds to complete this. Looks like I have 5 options on there for you to check. So we'll launch that and give everybody a few seconds to key that in there, and then we'll move on with the Everglade software demonstration, running that directly. Looks like about 50% of you have completed that at this point. I don't want to drag this out, but we'll wait just about 5 more seconds and then close it in. Okay, I'll close this. And just so you can see what's going on, we will share that with everybody too. Look at my audience view to make sure everybody's seeing that. Okay, and now we will close that up and move on to running the software live here. So let me get that back off the screen. Okay, now our audience view should be back there. All right, we will exit out of our PowerPoint software. Let me slide some of my toolbars down. And you're seeing an image of the handheld GPS that I'm running today, but I'm going to start off with Everglade Desktop. So it's on the screen, and let's bring it to the forefront here. Okay, so when I run Everglade, this is the first screen that comes up. I'm going to click on New Project that comes up, and we'll build us a project. So we'll say that this is North Platte. And we'll store this somewhere, so we'll just use our browser key and jump into this where I park all of my projects and my internal quest to be organized here. Okay. Then I use the drop down to choose which region that I'm working in. Since we're out here, and the last few years it really has been the arid west, as we're in the middle of a drought out here in the western United States. Project site, we'll just create one here. Choose what state we're working in. And then you get a list of associated counties that are with that state. What the project information is the next box right here, so the applicant or the owner. And then the investigator, so that the crew that's actually collecting the data. Then you can complete your township, section, township, range information, soil map unit name if you have that. Choose a subregion that you're working in, and basically that's it. So as far as project creation, this is it. Now if you're sometimes going out in the field, maybe you're mapping a power line or a submerged gas line and trying to delineate wetlands along that, and you're not sure what you're encountering, you can actually create, I call them dummy projects, but you could just load projects on there and then change the name and things later. That way you have a bunch of projects on your GPS that can just be opened up to which you can collect data. So we'll say OK to that. Now this is interesting. I've never seen that error come up before. Let me exit out of this and come back in. It's one of the interesting things about running software live. I was actually just doing one this morning before we did this. So let's do another new project here. Let me just park this one on my desktop. Maybe that was the issue. Choose a region. Okay. There we go. I think it just didn't like that path where I parked the last one, so easily done. Now that we have that project completed, you'll see that my sync button is not grayed out. So I can click on that, and I have two options. I can send information to the handheld or receive information from the handheld. And I use the term handheld and GPS interchangeably here. So we'll say we're going to send it to the handheld. Click on Send to Handheld. That's right, the folder doesn't exist on there. So that was synced correctly. Then we'll say done. Now we'll minimize this, or I could just close it if I was really going to the field now. Now this is the screen of my GPS that you're seeing right now. So basically Everglade can run on any, Everglade Desktop runs on any Windows XP, Windows 7, or Windows 8 platform. The data collection portion of Everglade has to be done on in Everglade Mobile, and Everglade Mobile runs on any global positioning system that runs Microsoft Windows Mobile 5, Mobile 6.1, or Mobile 6.5 embedded handheld operating systems. So that includes almost all of the Trimble Navigation global positioning systems, the Juniper systems, global positioning systems, rugged handhelds, and there's probably another half dozen varieties out there too that run that operating system. So you shouldn't be limited by what you can run the software on. So let's run the Everglade software now on the handheld. So I'm just going to tap the menu button in Windows, scroll down to my Everglade icon, which is this leafy looking thing right here. Tap on that. That will run the software. So out in the field, this is the first screen that comes up after I tap on that icon. We explained what these are already. I'll just give you a quick look of what they look like. So in the About, I see my Everglade version, the registration number, and the unlock code. It's probably good to spend a minute on this, because when somebody is purchasing Everglade, once they have it installed to their GPS, how you register that is you either call or email us with this registration number. We take that registration number and run it through a key generator, and then supply you with these unlock codes that that register that software on there. Now we do have Everglade available as a demonstration version, and I'll show you a link to that demonstration version a little bit later on. But that's how the licensing of Everglade is done. It's only licensed on the GPS, so you can install and run Everglade Desktop on as many computers as you want. It's only registered on the particular GPS that's used to collect the data in the field. Okay, the GPS setup information is right here. So the first time that I would go into it, I need to specify which communication port my GPS is outputting data on, what's the baud rate, parity, data bits. This should all be in your manual. We've actually covered most of the common global positioning systems in the Everglade User's Guide. You can turn to a page in there. I believe it's page 36, and there will be a list of the common ones. And then once that's set up, you can just look to see how good your signal is on here. Probably help if I turn that on. So we'll say activate GPS. So I can look at a sky plot, I can look at a signal strength, and I can see the position coming in from that, and how many satellites are being used in that fix. So some good information there. That's usually just kind of a one-time setup thing. You can turn it on in other places too. We'll leave the GPS setup and go to our project folders on here. So we'll open this up and find today's project. Looks like I need to do a little bit of housekeeping on there. So I've got this is the one we created right here. So it's now loading that project information on there and bringing up my setups. Okay, so we're at the screen right there. Then you can see that we've got an active GPS fix on there. So we're ready to begin our data collection. So what I'm going to do is just tap on New at the bottom of the screen. I'll try to use my computer mouse pointer as much as possible so you can see what I'm doing and also describe it. So at this point I'm going to be mapping a wetland point, line, or polygon, we'll just choose point for this. And then to get increased accuracy, I can average a number of GPS points. In the effort to make things go a little bit more smoothly, we'll just average 5 points for this. So I can unclick averaging if I just want to grab a snapshot of one position, or I can choose to average as many points as I want. Now if there's something wrong with your GPS receiver, you're not getting a good fix, something's going on, you can actually hand key in a number right here, and then when you're back at the office processing your data, you could key in what that real location is. So if you're having some issues with that, don't fret. You can just key in a number on both places there, and it'll accept that. We're going to tap on log. It's going to grab 5 of those and then average those. If that looks good to me, I just click on OK. Then I start advancing through my tabs for my Everglade wetland delineation. So all of this is pre-populated by the information in the project that I created in Everglade Desktop. I can make changes here if I want. That if I want to call this something else, I can say wet point 1, for example, and then key in the rest of this information as required. Then I just start working across these tabs, click on what the landform is, slope if any. I can change the sub-region. This is what we selected in Everglade Desktop. If I want to get a new GPS fix, I can tap GPS and get a new one. Key in my soil map unit name, class, disturbance. Again, all of these forms on the GPS have been put on there to populate data in the regional determination forms that it'll complete when you get back to your office. So we'll just work over to the next tab, which is my Vegetation tab. So I would possibly stick my shovel in the ground, dig a test hole or whatever, look at my plot and say, okay, I want to start adding vegetation for this. So I would use a drop down to collect a stratum that I'm working in. Then I can just start typing the species name on my electronic keyboard. I can key in the percent cover, or I can use this slider bar to scroll across there, check or leave the dominant species check there. If everything looks good, say OK, and then start adding additional plant species that are included in that plot. And we'll add a tree here too. In this case, instead of starting to type in the scientific species, we'll go to the common name, click in there, and just start typing what we think the common name of that tree is. And I can edit these too. If I want to make some changes, I just simply highlight them, click on edit, and it'll bring up that same screen, and I can change anything about that, the species, the percent cover, things like this. So we have that ability. We'll add a few more just so you can see the process here. So I could put any number of plant species in there that's appropriate for the plot that I'm working in, and then scroll further down this. If there's a percent bare ground, For the herb stratum, I can enter that. This region, percent cover of biotic crust, any hydrophytic vegetation present, make some remarks. And then we'll move over to our soil profile tab. So we can do the same thing, same type of logic here. We just click on add. Put our depth in there. Complete our matrix color. Put in the matrix percent. Redox color. Same type of thing. Percent redox. And the redox type. Porous linings, texture, and complete this. Then again, we have remarks here that we can enter too. And you can also type in remarks after the fact too, and we'll address that. So if that's all I want to do there, that takes me back to my main soil screen. For this region, we can put a restrictive layer in if we want, and the depth of that restrictive layer. Hydric soil present, remarks regarding it. And then the appropriate hydric soil indicators and the problematic indicators. I have scroll bars and pick lists that I can check any of those. Then the same type of screen for the hydrology indicators and the secondary hydrology indicators as well. So all of the, basically anything that's required for that particular determination form. And then hydrology observations. And I can make any descriptions with my remarks in this field down here at the bottom. Fill that in. And then I have a summary sheet at the end there. So basically, that's all that's required to collect data at your wetland point. You can go back and click on any of these tabs and make any adjustments that you want as you go along here. You say OK to that. It's basically saying, OK, you just told me you've completed all the data collection you want to do at that point. You can move on to map another new point or polygon by clicking on New. Or if you're done for the day, taking a lunch break or whatever, you can click on Menu and close the sampling project. You can also go to the sampling points and edit any points that you have on there that you may have collected previously. But in our case, to keep this webinar moving along at a good clip, we'll close the project out, which is actually required in order to put that data back over onto your computer. And then I can exit out of here as necessary. But what we'll do is just kind of slide our GPS off to the side right there, and we'll go into Everglade Desktop. So in our scenario here, we're coming back into the office. I may have collected any number of points, and I've done any number of projects for that day or that week, but we want to get the data onto our computer so we can complete the regional determination forms. So we want to grab the data from the handheld. So we'll say Get Files. It tells me that they've been received. Then we'll say Done, and it comes up. And over here on the left-hand screen, you can see the name of the project. All of the sampling points, lines, or polygons that we would have hit that day are listed in that data view screen. So if I hit 10 wetland points, I would have a name for each one of those 10. And I can look at this information for whichever one I have highlighted. So I can make any more edits to this that I want to. Just move across these tabs. Here's my vegetation list. I can make any changes here that I want to. I can add new species to any one of these stratums. So we're looking at tree, sapling, shrub, herb stratum, woody vine. My remarks are there. And you can see that the dominance test worksheet and the prevalence index worksheet have all been completed for you. And as you make any changes out here, those will be adjusted automatically over here to the right when you make those changes. Now you can see the same thing when I click on soil. I can go make any adjustments to that data that I collected. Same thing with my hydrology information. And you can see again additional fields for remarks. We also have a map tab on this. This is pretty boring with just the one point that I collected on there. But you can see that you have different colors and symbols that you can use. Make these larger, small. If I had walked a line, I could color that one color. So right now you can see that my setup for polygons are to show them in blue. It'll fill those in. I can choose a color for lines. Right now I have red showing for my wetland point. So just kind of a simple sketch of where you collected the data. Now if everything looks good right there, you just go over here to the File, Export, and just say, okay, this is where I want to name my file. So we'll just call this webinar wet point 1. Save that. And then we'll view it. So in my case, it's going to automatically open that up in my editor, which is Word. Now, so Word is being used to show this. You can see the form's already completed for you. It has all the information that I created in my EV Desktop, date, sampling point, site information. You can see all of the vegetation information down here. You can see the dominance and the prevalence information that's all completed and filled in for you. Any remarks that you made. Now I can also make additional edits here. We don't lock these forms for you on purpose. So if you want to add any information from your company, maybe you want to post a company logo in there or an agency logo, you can do that. You can make additional edits. So these forms are all editable as they are right here too. And then of course you can just save those as a Word document, place those in another folder, print those out, do whatever you want with those. So that's what kind of taking you through the whole 9 yards of the Everglade. I've got a few other things I want to show you, then we'll do some question and answers. But before we do that, I do want to launch another poll here. I want to kind of just find out where we're at with Everglade and what you're currently using to collect data in the field. So let me see here. I think most of you, let's bypass that poll, for example. I think most of you that responded today were actually still collecting data with pencil and paper. So let's do an Everglade features one, and launch that. Let me make sure that everybody can see that, and we'll give you some time to fill that in. We'll share that with the audience. Do a quick summary of everything that we've discussed today, and then we will move on with some questions and answers. Give you about 5 or 6 more seconds. I don't know if I put most of you to sleep today or not. I think I'm only getting about less than half of the respondents to our polls here, but let's close that up, and I will share that so you can see how your colleagues that are attending today are responding. And then let's hide that, and then just very briefly here go back to the PowerPoint presentation. Let me check my audience view to make sure you're seeing everything that I am. Okay, www.everglademobile.com. This is where you can go to obtain a demonstration version of Everglade software. So if you want to run it yourself, try out everything that we just did today, this is where you grab that. Now, two things make Everglade, the demonstration version, different than a licensed version. One of them is that we have an out-of-date plant list in there. So currently we're running the Everglade 2014 plant list, which I'm still seeing is the most up-to-date plant list. The one in our demonstration version is the 2012 version. Now, the only other thing that distinguishes the demo version from the real version is that when you go to File, Export the automatically completed determination forms, it will come up and prompt you and say, hey, you're running a demo version. I'm going to show you a sample or an example sheet of what it would have looked like had you been running a licensed version. So those are the main differences. So out-of-date plant list and a sample regional determination form. So just a cautionary measure too, if you're running a demo version, don't go out to the field and do a bunch of wetland delineation, come back and then license the software and export that. You need to be licensed before you go to the field for everything to work. Okay. Let's move through the last of this, and then we'll go to our Q&A. If I can get my slides to advance. I did want to introduce a new GPS that we had from Juniper Systems. This is the Archer. I show a purchase price with GPS with Everglade on it, as well as a monthly rental rate. I do want to remind you that if you're just sporadically do wetland delineations and possibly can't justify the purchase of a GPS and software, we can rent you your choice of hardware with the Everglade installed on it and ready to go, and then you just go collect your data, process it, and then ship the unit back when you're done. So we stock in our rental pool most of the popular Trimble navigation GPSs, as well as the Juniper systems, global positioning systems. Quick company overview of electronic data solutions. We have been in business 29 years. Our main office is in South Central Idaho, and then we have 5 additional field offices as well. We carry Juniper Systems field computers with customized software for a variety of applications. You just saw our wetland delineation today. We also have software for water resources, vegetation studies, mosquito control, forestry, range management, and even application generators. We also carry a lot of water resource instrumentation, water quality instruments, water level, flow, automatic samplers, telemetry equipment. So pretty well have that covered. And in our GPS and GIS markets, integrated mobile computing systems from Trimble Navigation. We're an Esri partner and developer. We're actually an Esri Gold partner. And then we carry a lot of related accessories such as laser rangefinders, GPS-ready digital cameras, rugged tablets, and of course the Juniper Systems field computers and GPS that we mentioned previously. And technical service staff available as well to help with your GPS, with your GIS software, and of course equipment rentals. This is our main website, and contact information is www.electdata.com. and associated phone numbers there too. Now let's go to our question and answer thing here. So I'll ask you to submit these questions via the question panel there. So I'll read your questions if you have any, and then I'll address those to the entire audience. I found that's the most organized way to do this, is to route those all through there. So let's see what we have on there. We'll just start from the first in, first answered. So, okay, software cost. Good question, always a popular one. The Everglade software costs $595. That gets you both components, the Everglade Desktop and the Everglade Mobile. Again, you can install Everglade Desktop on as many computers as you want, but the Everglade Mobile is licensed to a specific GPS and linked to a hardware key within the GPS. Now, another question that's commonly asked is, are there any annual maintenance fees? That $595 includes the first 1 year of maintenance. So if you purchase Everglade today and we come out with a new version within 12 months from now, you'll automatically be in subscription to get that new version. Since 2011, the Corps has been coming out with a new National Wetland Plant List about every year, I should say every year, which is their goal. So we typically have at least one release of Everglade every year. At a minimum, it includes the latest vegetation list, so you're always going to the field with the most recent list. We may also incorporate any upgrades, things like this that we've discovered during the course of those preceding months. So after the first year, we charge $125 per year per copy of Everglade subscription fee. And that is something that I think you will want to be aware of, because of course you will want to go to the field with the most recent vegetation list. And this is how we subsidize our software staff, to make sure that they've got all that loaded up in the most recent versions of Everglade, is through that $125 a year subscription fee after the first year. Okay, hope that addressed that question. So $595 up front, and then you're in subscription for the first 12 months, and then after that it's $125 per year. Will this webinar be available for later viewing? Yes, it's being recorded right now. So we'll actually post that on we have a YouTube channel. So all of our webinars are recorded and placed on that YouTube channel and made available out there, so you can share that with your colleagues or watch those later. May actually be helpful for you too if you're running the demo version and want to watch the recorded webinar while you're doing this. Okay, I missed at the beginning, so you might have covered this, but are the plant lists location specific? Could I load up the Nova Scotia wetland indicator list? Okay, the plant lists in there are specific to the region that you select, so they'll basically be sorted and laid out for that. So if the area that you're working with is in one of those covered regions within the United States or Alaska, then yeah, you will have the plant list for that. If you're working outside of those regions, we probably couldn't, we don't have that available right now. I know there's a few regions outside of those that are covered that we haven't in there. If we get enough requests for those, we can add those. For example, Alaska was actually added after the initial release of Everglade, just because we had a lot of interest from folks working up in that area. So perhaps we can look at the potential in some of these other areas as well. If you get a new next question. If you get a new GPS, can you transfer the mobile software? Yes, you would need to load that onto the GPS and then notify us of the new registration number that was in that window that I showed to you. So let me bring that window up again. So when you're installing that to your GPS, let's pop in there just briefly. You'll tap on the About. So this is the key that it's linked to, so your GPS will show a registration number in these windows. So there's 4 characters in each of these 4 windows. We would need to have that, and then we would discontinue it in the previous GPS, run it through our key generator, and respond back to you with this new unlock code. So this 8-digit or 8-character code that is right there is unique to the registration number generated by your GPS. Okay. Next question. Can you post-process GPS collected data for higher accuracy? You would actually need to put those positions within your post-processing software, like, for example, Trimble Navigation, Pathfinder Office, and post-process that in that software, and then go back to Everglade Desktop and key in the new position, the new post-process position that it gave you. The Everglade Desktop software doesn't have the ability to do post-process differential correction for you. And that was kind of something that was outside the scope of the Everglade software. So basically the GPS accuracy that you're logging within Everglade is dependent on the real-time GPS accuracy of your specific GPS receiver. So if you have a sub-meter receiver and you're reading some space-based correction data from that, and they're confident in your data, yeah, your real-time accuracy should be good enough. If you don't think that it is, or you want to tighten that up, you do need to do that in some third-party software. Okay, let's continue on with these. It looks like that's our last submitted question so far. So with that, we'll go ahead and wrap things up. You will be sent from GoToMeeting will automatically send to you a follow-up to the webinar. You can put additional questions on there. I'll also follow up with you individually and address any questions that you have too, and also provide a link to the recording of today's webinar. So thank you very much again for attending the webinar today. Appreciate your attendance, and hope to work with you on Everglade software.